Welcome back to New Hope Kids. My name's Sarah, and today's video is a little different because we get to have an exciting one big outdoor service. Yahoo! So, we're going to talk about another parable. In the big story of the Bible unit, we read Luke, and in Luke, there were a ton of parables. What's a parable? It's a story that teaches something, and Jesus' parables teach about who he is and how his kingdom is. We looked at the parable of the lost son a few weeks ago, and then at the last outdoor service, we looked at the parable of the lost sheep. Today, we're going to listen to a parable from the book of Matthew.
Stories of the Bible, the parable of the two builders. This is Jesus,
Heyo!
who is the Son of God and the Savior of the world. While Jesus was on earth, he taught everyone about God's love and healed people from their sickness. He did many miracles like walking on water
Oh, hey guys.
and even raised people from the dead.
Wahoo!
One day, as he saw the crowds gathering, Jesus went up to the mountainside and sat down. His disciples gathered around him, and he began to teach them. He asked them, "Why do you keep calling me Lord, Lord, when you don't do what I say?"
Now, before we get into the parable Jesus is about to tell, this is the setup to it. What does it mean for someone to be a Lord? It means they're the boss. They're in charge. We don't really have lords anymore in like this part of the world anyway, but we do have like presidents and prime ministers and members of parliaments and CEOs, and you can maybe best picture a lord as like an old-fashioned king in charge of and responsible for taking care of his people in the land. Jesus said, "Why do you call me Lord if you don't do what I say?" What does it mean for Jesus to be Lord? Today, maybe literally like right this second, people outside are getting baptized, and they'll be asked a few things. They'll be asked if they believe Jesus really died on the cross and rose again in real life in his body. And they'll be asked if they're ready to declare that Jesus will be the Lord of their life forever. When we decide to have Jesus as the Lord of our life, he gets to tell us what to do. And Jesus is about to tell us a parable about why.
Anyone who listens to my teaching and follows it is wise.
Hey, I'm gonna build here.
I'm gonna build out there.
All right, suit yourself.
Like a person who builds a house on solid rock.
Oh, yeah.
When the floodwaters rise and break against that house, it stands firm because it was well built.
I'll get it here.
But anyone who hears my teaching and doesn't obey it is foolish.
All right. Hey, it's nice.
Like a person who builds a house on sand.
Uh-oh.
When the rains and floods come and the winds beat against that house, it will collapse with a mighty crash. When Jesus had finished saying these things, the crowds were amazed at his teaching.
Remember that parables tell us who Jesus is and how his kingdom works. What is the solid rock that the wise man built his house on really? Jesus is the solid rock, and his teachings, living with what he says is the truth, is the solid foundation for our lives. We've been talking about this in the Who I Am unit too. For example, sometimes you feel like junk, like a mistake. But who does Jesus say you are? You're made in his image, perfectly designed. When you feel like nobody loves you, like no one's ever gonna like you, what does Jesus say? You are fully loved, so much loved that he chose to create you and die on the cross to be with you. But we also talked about last week, if we base who we think we are, how we feel about ourselves on what other people think about us, or what we think other people think about us or feel about us, what is that like in the parable? That's like the shifting sands. Other people can never love us perfectly. If we build our lives on being really liked or really popular, on people thinking we're a really good kid, or people thinking we're a really cool kid or a really funny kid, those are shifting sands. When the hard times come, when people are mad at you, disappointed in you, betray you, that's not going to hold up. Pause the video, and leaders, you can go first, and share a time that the rains came and things got really hard and you realized you were building your life or part of your life on a shifting sand instead of on Jesus and his teachings. Then kids, you can share an example. Jesus teaches us who we really are, and he teaches us how to fulfill our purpose of being images of God, of how we can be to reflect him to the world and make the world more like his kingdom. For example, if someone, like say your sibling or something, was mean to you, called you a name, what's the normal thing that you would do? You would do it back to them. But that's like building on sand, because they're mean to you and then you're mean to them and then you're mean to you and then they're mean to you and it blows up and goes crazy. But what does Jesus say to do? He says to love your enemies and to do good to those who hurt you, to forgive them 70 times, 7 times. What are some things that Jesus teaches that are hard for you to let him be the Lord, that are hard for you to do and to obey? The great news is that our foundation of who we are is in Jesus, the solid rock. He doesn't change or shift. You're created in his image, perfectly designed, and you're fully loved, and you have an eternal mission and purpose. And Jesus, the solid rock, will teach you how to carry it out. So for today's craft, you're going to make a cool pattern with the sand. But you're going to have to be really careful with it when you kick it home, because if you shake it or move it too much, all the pattern you made is just going to get all messed up. Because we can't build our lives on shifting sands. But on the top of your cool little sand pattern, you're going to glue a solid rock. And you could shake this thing around. You could shake a rock. You could throw it up in the air. Nothing's going to hurt it. Jesus is the solid rock we can build our lives on.